Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Insurtech Show. Now in today's episode we're looking at the general digital transformation of the insurtech industry. Now insurance is probably in a place where banking was 7 years ago, so it's actually really exciting to find out a bit more about where they can learn from the banking industry and apply it in the insurance industry. Joining me today, I have three guests right at the heart of this topic. First up, we have Sean Ringstead from Chubb, one of the largest insurance providers in the States and actually the world. We also have James Russell from the esure group, who's going to be telling us how they're looking at digital transformation across all their lines too. Now, last but not least, we have Philip McGriskin, the CEO of Vitesse PSP, a company committed to the excellence of payments within the insurance industry. Too long have the claims fallen at the final hurdle for a lot of insurance companies, and customers have been reeling as a result. But with Vitesse PSP, suddenly that's all going to change, as we're going to start seeing instant payouts when you make a claim. So join us on today's episode as we look at the huge changes happening in the insurance industry and where it's going to leave us, the customers, in a couple of years. How are you doing? You good?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me here this morning.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to get your insights on the topic because, I mean, I've been working so much in banking over the last couple of years, but actually I think insurance has the opportunity to leapfrog it and become far more interesting.
I agree with you. It's nice to see somebody so enthused about it as well.
I'm glad.
It's similar to me.
Yeah.
I think the banking piece has been done for a while. FinTech has been done for a while. We're now into Insurtech, one of the last bastions of the sort of financial services area to be uncovered and fixed, and we're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, really leading the way. But before we look at the future of insurance, let's look at kind of what has been changing over the last couple of years to set the scene. The insurance industry, as we've mentioned, has gone through a wealth of changes, but what have been some of the cornerstones of those changes? What has really kick-started that innovation?
I think obviously technology is the underlying, change enabler.
Yeah.
But then on top of the technology, the requirement for the technology, I think, is coming from the customers who are seeing technology, payments, treasury services being used effectively elsewhere, and are starting to try and understand why it's going to take them so long to get something done in the insurance vertical when it could be done instantly somewhere else. So I think you're seeing businesses and consumers expecting to see more technology being used more efficiently to make the transaction and the whole process smoother.
What are these technologies that have suddenly made the customer have to catch up with their demands?
Well, if you look outside of the insurance industry, and I know that this is a use case that probably gets overused, but just Uber and payments way back when. It used to be a whole rigmarole that you had to go through in order to enter your details, put your 16-digit card number in and everything else. These guys can now store that information and they make it simpler. And I think people are expecting to see that use of technology and the efficiencies it brings in the laggard industries like insurance. So I think again, this is born out of technology and processes being used efficiently elsewhere and people starting to expect to see them in their day-to-day life.
Tremendous. Now, with that being used in their day-to-day life, we've talked about how customers don't wake up and go, I can't wait to insure myself today. But that is starting to change because as insurance transforms, so too do the offerings that come with it. Yep. It's no longer just, we're removing friction, we're lowering the policy price. But actually, we're starting to offer up new and interesting offerings to customers. What are those? That's
right. So on the parametric side of things, we've got some great customers. We've got Flood Flash, the clue's in the name. Yeah. We have other businesses like Anansi. Anansi is a very interesting business that works on automating a parametric cover around cargo insurance. The idea being that if I am, let's just take a sort of a large e-commerce business like Shopify. If I'm a Shopify, I've got lots of people in my marketplace that are building goods and then sending them out. What would be great is when I send those goods out, if I could offer my customer an insurance policy to make sure that if the goods don't get there or if they're damaged on the way or if they're not what is expected, the customer has got a right to come back and look for their money. Being able to automate that process through the Shopify purchasing experience is a great way of bringing an automated parametric cover in that is really helping both the marketplace because there's more trust in it, and it's also helping the customer who knows that they're going to get their goods, and then it also helps the small business that's selling because they know now that they're protected all the way through the chain. So it's a win-win. All automated, as a nice low cost profile because it's all automated as much as it can be. Yeah.
I mean, automation really does seem to be the key.
Yeah, absolutely. That technology. And then if you look at it on, I guess, on the sort of the banking side and take it up a level to the insurers, as they start to move through these covers that are operating on more of a real-time basis, then it becomes around making sure that they're able to keep the funds flowing at the same pace. If you're paying out claims real time, and if you're now doing it for a much wider market base, there's more money involved, it's moving around more rapidly, and you've got to be able to enable that. One of the other things that we see the industry lacking at the moment is a sort of a choice around how they can find businesses that can help that treasury function as well as the payment function, given that they've automated all of this stuff up to 95%. What's the last 5%? And it's making sure that that money to pay the claim is there when it's needed, and also that claim can be paid as efficiently as possible. And that's where one of the big areas where we're helping the market focus.
James, how are you doing? You good?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, delighted to be here.
It's such a pleasure having you in the studio, so thank you so much for coming over. But for our viewers who might not have met you before, could you please tell us a bit more about yourself, your role, and what you've been working on?
Yeah, so I've been in insurance since about 2002, and before that I was in manufacturing.
Yeah.
But I think what sort of drew me to insurance is that it's a fundamental service that we all need to protect the things that we care about and we love and we value. And I think even though I've done other things throughout my career, I've sort of kept gravitating back to that core fundamental of how we protect people and make financial services more accessible for everyone. So that's something I'm really, really passionate about. My role at esure is to essentially make sure that our customers and our internal colleagues have the capabilities that they need in order to get their claims settled when something happens either with their car or with their home. And that just is my daily focus. So my day-to-day is listen to the customer, listen to our internal colleagues. What do you need to give our customers that amazing experience that they expect? And just prioritize those next capabilities that we're building to get them in front of the customer and in the hands of our claims experts.
What is the biggest challenge facing insurers right now, and how can claims transformation help them with those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows we're facing a real economic challenge at the moment, not just in the UK but globally, and the cost of living, inflationary pressures, they're really front of mind for everyone, for us as people, as consumers, but also for us as leaders within businesses. So I think insurance is no different to other companies. We've absolutely got to make sure that we continue to provide that service and that protection that people need, but we've got to stay competitive, and we've got to try and not add too much extra pressure to people's cost of living, because if you own a car, you have to have insurance. It's a mandatory purchase. So we have to be very respectful of that. And I think from a claims point of view, it's absolutely important on us that absolutely we deliver the service and the recovery that our customers need when they have an accident or they have their house is damaged. But we've got to keep our costs under control as much as possible, so that we don't add pressure into the premiums that we have to charge the customers. So that's very front of mind for myself and my colleagues. Specifically within claims and the motor insurance area, we are seeing real inflation in car parts and a lack of availability. So that's really putting pressure on our supply chains and our repairers. It means that customers are having to wait longer to get their cars repaired. It means that then hire car, courtesy car provision is extended. It all adds to cost. So we're working really hard with our supply chain partners to really try and take out the friction and the delays and the shortages of parts, so that we can get people back on the road and get their claims settled as quickly as possible.
Do you have any use cases? I know last time we spoke, we were talking about the partnership with DBS using Chubb Studio. Do you have any examples, that we can find out about, how Chubb Studio has been used in a real life deployment to benefit both customers and their end customers too?
It spans verticals, right? We're here in the UK. We're tightly partnered with Revolut and delivering a trip event cancellation experience into their app, and more products to come. Down in Brazil with Nubank, we've delivered a life proposition to their customer base which is simply 3 questions. And it's been extraordinarily successful. And what you're doing there is you're providing a financial protection product to like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who didn't have access to that type of protection before, right? We're in there with mobile network operators providing protection, you know, for cell phone, gadget, loss or damage. We're in there with payment providers, right, and offering protection. I mean, if you're sort of in low income geographies and countries, and if they're sick and can't work, that's meaningful, right? And how can we help them protect the loan and payments, right, on bills and these sorts of things. We're in there with ride hailing, right, and providing sort of more of an experience, right? Yeah. And protecting, you know, if your trip is late, we'll give you some cash.
Wow.
Or go into your digital wallet. Travel, right? We're in there with airlines and some trip cancellation, you know, they lose baggage and so on. So there's any number of these verticals. Yeah. But to be able to work in that wide range of verticals, right? It all comes back to our ability to integrate through technology and Chubb Studio. And what's important as well, it's not a commodity, right? I mean, I think that's so important. It's you sit down with partners and you work hard and you make sure you're delivering their customers the experience that the partners demand.
What is embedded insurance to you, and why is it so important?
Well, nobody gets out of bed and talks about insurance in an excited manner, apart from you and I. Anyway, but you know, for me, the concept of embedded insurance is it's making the transaction smoother. There's not very much that happens in the world without insurance playing a part. Yeah. Whether it's the goods that are actually coming from one side of the world to the other that need to be insured on their way across, or the actual development of those goods, or to where they're stored in a shop, how they're stored in a shop, and then how we actually get them home. All of that is covered by insurance somewhere. And I think what's happening is customers are almost sport for choice, because as they consume more, there's more requirements for insurance. So people are starting to get a little bit clever about how they can enable customers to pick up these products without having to go through a big rigmarole. Yeah. And that embedded cover is a very efficient way of doing that. The embedded finance piece is a very efficient way of doing that. And then I think if you look on the other side, the way that they present and sort of, I guess, deal with the covers, they're bringing in more of the parametric type covers. So you've got very clear outlines on what constitutes a claim, what's going to get paid, what's not going to get paid, which enables them to automate it further. So you're giving the customers more choice. I think you're making it easier for them to adopt the products. And then on the other side, you're also making that product easy for them to use and benefit from when the time comes, inevitably, and a claim is made.
I mean, we have a lot of complicated spaghetti in the organization for insurance. And how do we, and our goal is to take our products and services into the digital channel, right, with partnerships. So given all this spaghetti and that goal, how do we do that? And we develop Chubb Studio, and what that does, that's an technology integration layer that sits above that, and it orchestrates everything below in a seamless, deliver it in a seamless way to our partners, whether it's the sales or the service or the claims. We're able to deliver that to our partners in a seamless way. Everything is APIs these days. And so we're able to integrate into digital partners in that way. So we had a base set of APIs, whether there's sales, claims, and services, which work great. And you know, we're able to integrate into partners in various countries and verticals, right? So now think banking, think travel, right? Think super apps, think mobile network operators, right? And so we can integrate in.
So I think I'd break it down into 4 steps. We've got to absolutely get those fundamentals in place so that we can settle claims and deliver that customer promise with a really well-oiled machine. So that's the first one. I think the second one is then how do we actually connect that ecosystem and get the data flowing to where it needs to flow. So whether it's to a repairer or it's to the building company or to the company that's going to replace the person's mobile phone that got lost. How do we work with that supply chain? Then I think it's about working with other partners in that ecosystem to try and, as I just said, identify where we could prevent bad things from happening. And I think the fourth point for me is, how do we do that in a sustainable way that is in the interest of the customer, the environment, and society as well? And there is still so much complexity and things about financial services and insurance that I don't like, and it really frustrates me. But you've got to be kind of in the mix to try and influence it, and that's something that certainly at esure we're passionate about doing.
How do you sit with these organisations and enable them to thrive by leveraging your technology?
So Vitesse has been built by payment experts, and we also have insurance experts, and we're bringing the payments and the insurance piece together to sort of offer the very best service that we can do it. I think having had that experience of 20 years in e-commerce payments means that we understand what the customer looks like, we understand what the customer expects. A lot of these insurers are moving on a cross-border basis now, so they need to be able to do payments not just in the UK, but also in their other markets. If we look at one of our, I guess, the more neo-insurers, a business called Many Pets, a big customer of ours, and ones that we love, you know, they operate in the UK, they operate in the US, they operate in Sweden. They need to be able to have payment types that fit the consumer in each of those marketplaces. But Many Pets is focused on providing the very best cover at the optimal price and being a partner for their customers when they have that time of need. It's not about ensuring that they're regulated in Sweden and the US and the UK in order to hit the fastest possible payment networks and giving their customers as much choice as possible. That's us, and we're really good at it, and we work with them to educate them and give their customers a better outcome. The insurance industry as a whole is not laser focused on payments. The insurance industry is focused on risk, first and foremost, and then it comes into customer outcomes and making sure that your customer is satisfied. And payments is a part of that, but it's not the focus. What we're seeing now, because there's been optimized and done so much in so many other places in the chain, it now does come down to that payments piece. So we have worked with the world's largest specialist insurance marketplace, Lloyd's of London, the venerable 300-year-old institution, undergoing a lot of change at the moment. They are overhauling their entire market to come into the digital age. And one of the big things that we've been working on with Lloyd's is a faster claims payments project. And again, the clue's in the name. It's all about making sure that those claims can be paid as quickly as possible. But the primary driver of doing that has not been the end payment. It's actually been the Treasury, and it's been making sure that the billions of pounds that are floating around the insurance marketplace that enables this whole network of partnerships that we don't see, but are, you know, right in the middle of getting those claims paid and everything working. Optimizing that has been our sort of last 2 years worth of work. So we've been working as a partner with Lloyd's of London and the banks who've got the strength of the balance sheets, but they don't have the speed of the technology, to make sure that we're bringing through products that are really optimizing the capital for the market, as well as focusing on customer outcomes at the same time. So that partnership that Lloyd's have got with us is enabling them to keep their size, keep their scale, but use a technology partner that's much more nimble and agile and probably knows a little bit more about the problem than they do, which it's brilliant that they admit, and they're happy to take the help, and we're obviously very proud to be working with them on it.
That's all we've got time for on today's episode. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing where this industry is going, the lessons it can learn from banking, and where it's going to be going in the next couple of years. So thank you very much for watching. You can catch the rest of the series and so much more over at ffnews.com and of course YouTube, but especially LinkedIn, where you'll see me in the comments. Thank you very much, and